Hey, everybody, and welcome back after the intro to today's show, especially those of you that do follow the show regularly on a daily basis. Ubiquitous audience, invited audience, hopefully new audiences wherever you've come. Welcome, one and all. And if you did join those shows, I've already done a couple of prelude shows, blogs, and bios to include today. So welcome back. Those folks that are listening in, hearing the bio today, or if you're just coming in and bypass the bio, here's my guest today, Tracey. Tracey's going to help us out with my little bit of struggles with last names. And Tracey, welcome, and please do segue right in as we chatted a little bit in the green room. And we're going to be here for about 30, 45 minutes today, everybody, and welcome, Tracey.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My name is Tracey Whittet, and I am currently in Santa Fe, New Mexico, beautiful land of enchantment. And Grandpa Bill basically invited me on the show to share a healing art that I do called Transmosis Healing. And sort of hard to describe because it is invisible and it is unconscious. So a little bit about me. I was originally born in Washington, D.C., and I was raised in Northern Virginia. And then my family and I moved out to Colorado, and I spent like the second third of my life in Northern Colorado, which was great. And now I'm down here in Santa Fe, New Mexico, which is even slower and greater. And all the time that I lived in Virginia and in Colorado and New Mexico, I worked in corporate America. And it's like I'm split, you know, it's like my real nature is energy, spirituality, holistic health, all of those realms. I've always been feeling like I'm a little bit of an anomaly or separate from other people because I don't feel like I fit in and such. But yet I can play the game really well. And you can see me as a regular person working in corporate America, and I can do that. But the truth is my heart wasn't satisfied because it wasn't my true nature. It wasn't my true calling, if you will. And so now that I'm like a little bit older in life, I'm not working in corporate America. And throughout the whole time that I was working in corporate America, I was taking energy work classes and doing energy sessions for people and things. And the common denominator, whether I was doing Reiki, whether I was doing Theta Healing, access consciousness, everything that I ever did, the common denominator, which doesn't sound like it's so unique, but it kind of is because it's like my consciousness, is I would share with people what I hear and what I see. And what that means is that Spirit uses me like an instrument, like a vessel. And I always ask what is for in my clients' highest and greatest good. And most recently, I have called in 100% pure divine light because the first time I had an energetic clearing, multidimensional body balancing, the person working on me called in my guise of 100% pure divine light, and she had this huge, long pause. And I'm like, what's going on? And she told me, oh, there's a changing of the guard. I'm like, what? I really thought I was working with the Great White Brotherhood, Saint Germain, you know, all these Jesus, all these beings of light. But I guess there could be some trickery out there. So the reason I share what I hear and I see is now everything that I've ever done, I share what I hear and I see. But one day I was working with someone in Longmont, Colorado, and I heard on the inner the word transmosis. And I'm like, what is transmosis? So I wrote it down on the whiteboard that was behind me in my healing space. And nobody could tell me what it means. And so it's like, is this a made up word? What is this? And so finally I just asked Spirit myself, what is transmosis? And I always like to read it because I don't want to mess it up and it's not how I talk. So Transmosis Healing is an unconscious transfer and assimilation of higher energies to raise the recipient's energy to equal the source energy. So that's kind of a broad brush stroke. But what seems to happen now is the alchemy happens with calling in 100% pure divine light and asking what is in your highest and greatest good. And you guys tell me what you want to work on before we start the session. Physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. Or sometimes people say, I don't know, whatever spirit wants me to know. And it's like, no, I want to give you exactly what you want and need. And it's not even me doing it. I'm more like I kid around, kind of have a crazy sense of humor, but I call it, I'm a divine ventriloquist because I share what I hear and what I see. So when those people would say, I don't know, whatever spirit wants me to know, it's like, wait, I need to take everything that could and need to be cleared and where it could and need to be cleared, what all those are, and then I ask before the session starts. I call in you, I call in me, I call in our guides of 100% pure divine light, and then I ask, what is in Grandpa Bill's highest and greatest good, right? And then I muscle test. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that, but it's applied kinesiology. It's energy in motion. And like your body doesn't lie. So you just ask questions of what is truth and what is false. So I have a map that I created and I ask, is it this? Is it that? And I just muscle test everything and then I circle it. So I have a map. And honestly, it's kind of like my default in case nothing were to come through. Oh, well, where am I going to go with this? Right. So I'm just sharing the truth of why I created that map.
Transparency is so key in anything. I appreciate that. Continue.
Okay, thank you. So then this is how we do transmosis. And I just had a session this morning with someone, so I'm still a little bit altered. So if I seem flaky, I don't mean to be, but I am a little bit altered because I had been so expanded by working with this person.
Sure.
Who is like a space being, if you will. She's very high in consciousness. So we went into uncharted territory. Right. So what happens is, let's say I was working with you, Grandpa Bill. I go, okay, so I call in Grandpa Bill's highest and greatest good at this moment. I call in his guides of 100% pure divine light. I call in my guides of 100% pure divine light. And we ask for Bill's highest and greatest good for himself and for all concerned. And then I invite us both to place our egos and our personalities outside of this consecrated space.
Yeah, so I'm sorry. You definitely have to check those at the door. Continue.
Right? Definitely.
Continue.
Yeah, and so I ask us to do that so that we can both be as close as possible to pure divine consciousness for your highest and greatest good. And then I call in the guides, and then I ask them to show me. And I ask them to show me, like, for example, like right now, I'm feeling the sense of Bill's astral body, of his nervous system of his astral body. So what do you mean by that? Well, 80% of the time, you know, being in a human body, we can have wounds and disconnects, traumas, accidents, misperceptions, all of these things. And these energies get stuck in the past. They get stuck because they think it's still happening. And what we do, 80% of the time, these energies get stuck in the endocrine system, the nervous system, or the chakra system.
Correct.
And you guys can stop me if there's anything that I need to explain if you don't know what a chakra system is, an endocrine system, or a nervous system.
That's a great point, and it's not so much an interruption. Thank you. It's not so much an interruption. Most of my audience, go like this. You never make a broad-based term on anything, but most of my audience, simply because, and this isn't the Bill Holt autobiographical time, and I don't want to make it that way. I've been doing all of those things for a number of years in business, now retired, in life for a really long time. I'm an empath. I came onto it really at a very young age of the awareness, but you have to remember, for me at 9 years old, it was 1963. Nobody knew about it in that regard at that time, but we knew that something was up, our appreciation for nature. So without getting belabored too much, I'm a Reiki 2. Reiki was my former principal at a high school. That's how my brain works. Reiki 2 certified. I'm in the process of kind of sporadically doing 3. And with my local doctor, are you familiar with Dr. Dustin Sulak by name and his works?
No.
If you're not, I'll give you some links behind the scenes. Fascinating story. I know you would have an appreciation for that. trying to synopsize this on your statement, I talk a lot about oversouls, angels, higher beings, a lot of what you've been talking about. I'm certainly not as well versed in transmosis, don't claim to be. Have talked about it very much on the layman side of it, and my understanding of it, which I'm not a virtuoso by any means, but I'm not a novice, somewhere's in between. So, belabored and a little long-winded, most of my audience probably has, hopefully, after me doing this 4.5 years straight, to hopefully guide them to that, I kid my audience a little bit, has at least a working knowledge of some of the jargon that you're saying. Many more so don't, because it's within your specialization. So thank you for continuing. So if that makes any sense, I would say a percentage of my audience probably has a pretty good conception. In all due respect, it's just like anything that's new. I would say a fair share probably don't have the remotest inkling, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. It's like riding the proverbial bike. We all have to fall off, bang our knee, and that's how it works, if you will. So I kind of took the corral way of answering your question, but if that makes any sense, that's probably where our edification as a collective audience is, at best guess. So continue to edify us. In case.
Sure.
Yeah.
So if transmosis is a word that came from spirit to me, and I've taken all these energy work classes, but yet I get to be the vessel or the communicator of the one voice that is speaking and sharing symbols and words that I hear and things like divine messages. It's like being in a divine flow. So I don't want to call myself a channel, but it's kind of like that. It's almost like a chinning thing. I go up and get the information for us and bring it here. And then I record the session. So the transmosis word is almost like an umbrella that encompasses all of the energy.
Good analogy. Continue. Good analogy. Continue.
Yeah. And I was thinking that in multidimensional body balancing, I was taught, and I know, that we have a physical body, but we also have a super physical one right next to the physical. We have an astral body, which is like emotional, a causal body, which is where our cellular memories are stored,
Right.
Akashic records, past lives, things like that, if you believe in that. And then there's a mental body, our thoughts, feelings, considerations, our etheric body, kind of like a higher mind, and then your soul body.
Right.
Where each and every one of those bodies has a nervous system, has an endocrine system, which, by the way, are our ductless glands. They secrete hormones into the bloodstream, and they're chemical messengers and tell our body what to do.
Correct.
And then all of that moves into the chakra system.
Correct.
And then all of those bodies and all of those systems and all those chakra systems create our field all around us. So lots of times, our aura.
Correct.
So lots
Correct.
of times.
We do talk a lot about that with my listening audience, however big or small or whatever, but my listeners have certainly heard that before. To whatever degree they're absorbing it, practicing it, understanding it, they know what we're intimating to whatever degree within their own repertoires that they're Reiki masters or whatever. And some of them are.
Yeah.
So, but I think as a central point, and I'd like to think that the ubiquitous audience, I think most people, at least in terminology, know what chakras are. I think. Overall, I think they have a basic idea. In a ubiquitous audience, I think that's a fair statement. But again, most of my audience, we've talked about Astral, we've talked about different things like that over the years, and at least they would have a layman's working knowledge of it, I would say, if that makes any sense. Yeah,
perfect.
So continue. I'm sorry. I just wanted we're trying to get each other's factions of an audience. And to go to your earlier point, and another time, I always felt the same way about not fitting in from an early age. I always equated it to, and it'll come to me, it's a memory test for me. Who's Will from Saturday Night Live? The big, tall guy, the comedian Will. His last name.
Ferrell?
Thank you. In the Elf, the movie, way back for the kids movie, was one of my granddaughter's favorite. Remember how he said, because he was so big, I just don't fit in?
Right.
That always resonates with me. And I always use the analogy sometimes of medicine. Life is a big jigsaw puzzle, and those intricate pieces, they have to snap together to work synergistically. But as we all know, sometimes it takes a little finagling. They just don't fit in, if you will. My crazy analogies, my humor, how
I love it.
Things, but I never fit in either to the truest sense of the word. I don't know so much that I was gifted or anything like that. I don't see myself that way. It's just that I was always perceived as odd. And it probably definitely was. I don't walk away from that. But because I just felt and saw things, especially in the time frame of my early childhood, where it was easy to shrug your shoulders like, watch out for that guy, if you will, with no violence or whatever. It just wasn't even remotely understood 6 decades ago. I'm sorry, continue.
Yeah, you just feel like an alien. And maybe we are.
You really do. And maybe perhaps we are. We talk a lot about that too. One of the things you talked about, how to live inside your body, outside your body. You are who you are at conception in the womb. This is just a vessel. You're just Tracy by name. I'm just Bill. I'm just Grandpa Bill. Mary, Peter, Paul, Ahmed, whatever, within you and without you, we have a lot of commonalities. One quick plug for Podmatch, if I may. I think that's so good because those are the things that, hey, geez, I really want to reach out to Tracy and hopefully reciprocally. And one of my guests in the humor, and I'll just interject that, is certainly not a dating service, everybody. Please understand the humor in this. But Podmatch, she simply said, she goes, it's kind of like the dating service for business people, both on the guest side and the host side, and some of us that do both, yourself included. You have a podcast, right? Of course you do.
No, I'm just...
You don't. I'm confusing you with a million. There's too much to do. Believe me, if you entertain doing it, set yourself a lot of time to do it. Just an inside thing. I do 3 of them. But anyhow, yeah. So, I mean, we've all been around that. Are we all accepting each other's invitations? I never take that as a personal affront. Sometimes they may have valid points. Bill, you're reaching out to an auto mechanic. I love what you're doing, but maybe it's not. But for the most part, my point is on Podmatch. I've found it to be just a godsend in that regard. Do you have any personal convictions? I'm not putting you on the spot about Podmatch. Have you had a long relationship with them yourselves, or yourself? Or
I think it's been about a year, almost a year anyway.
And again, I get nothing from Podmatch. I'm just curious.
Yeah,
does this seem to be working out for yourself?
Yeah, it gives you some opportunities to talk to different people and your audiences and kind of get in front of other people's audiences, which is helpful because the work that I do is not really mainstream.
It isn't, and that's obviously not a slam to you, and I know that you know that, but many people might interpret that when I talk about it. I'm not.
Well, people might judge.
What you say is true. We're odd. We're odd, but this connotation of odd is a good odd. If you
correct, my very first podcast that I did, and it wasn't through Podmatch, it was from someone else, but it was great.
Yeah, sure.
She said, well, you're unique. You're supposed to be outstanding in your field. Like, why would it was a movie? I think it was with Julia Roberts, and her son had a deformed face. It wasn't Mask, but he had. I think it's called Wonder or something like that.
That sounds familiar. I'm not sure if I've ever visited it, but that sounds.
It's a very great movie, and
okay, the movie. I'm sorry. Yes, of course. Yeah, I'm sorry. Podcast. Got it.
There was a saying in there, like, why would you want to be like everyone else when you were born to be unique, to stand out, to bring your gifts? And I think that's true for every single one of us.
I agree.
And the work that I do is to help people remove any energies that are invisible or unconscious that they don't see or know they have, or they know they have it, but then what's the source of it? And so basically I just call in your guides and my guides, and the light clears it. So really the truth is the person that is receiving transmosis, as I call it, sometimes I do access, sometimes, and I mix them all up, like healing touch, clearing the chakras, whatever needs to be done for that person. I just follow directions like a highly skilled nurse. I just pull out of the bag what that person needs at the time. and I record the session because sometimes there's some really great information that comes through.
Do you get involved in hypnosis or not?
I had done hypnosis, yes.
Do you find, I'm just curious, this is just an FYI for my edification. Do you find that most people are maybe a degree more receptive because the inhibitions or whatever might be released through hypnosis? I've never been hypnotized, so I can't experience it.
Well, I can share.
Yeah.
I can share that. You get into a space of relaxation so that, you have a left brain and a right brain.
Correct.
And the left brain is, let's call it the guard, and all the logical information. And the right brain's more receptive to those subjective things. And so when you relax so much, the guard, that's why they count down like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, to give the left brain something to do.
Correct.
At the same time, the right brain is being activated to relax and trust. And the truth is the person's consciousness is what does the change, same as in transmosis.
Right.
It's not, you can't make someone bark like a dog and all of that kind of thing.
No.
If someone wants to quit smoking, you can hypnotize and help them implant positive, subjective experiences. But the work that I do with transmosis is like listening to a story.
Correct.
So like there's a part of you, the really highest of high, the holiest holy part of you that is open to receive love. And this is just all love.
Correct.
And so what spirit shares with me is an image or a sentence or whatever. I will share that. And the alchemy seems to be like when I share that sentence out loud, and your consciousness receives it, your imagination, that part of you that hears and sees, that is where the alchemy happens and the healing occurs.
Do you personally, within your practice, how do I frame this question? Go to the extent of those that maybe are a little bit more in tune or feel as though they are, or they have a history with it, or some basic knowledge of it in your process? Do you get into like closing your eyes and the colors type of or not necessarily that deep? Related about oversouls or angels or whatever anybody calls their higher power, if indeed they have one. Does that make sense, my question?
Sure.
Yeah.
So it depends. It's different. Yeah. It's different and it's unique for each and every person.
It really is.
So the friend and recipient that came over today laid on the bodywork table, fully clothed with a blanket over her.
Right.
And we checked her chakras in her hand because I use a crystal that has magnets on either side of it.
Correct.
And it clears the aura, the field.
Correct.
And I do the other hand. Then I check the chakras in the physical bodies to make sure that they're open, because I find that the energies flow better when everything's open.
Absolutely.
So you send energy with your right hand, you receive with your left. And if the chakra was blocked or not open, then I open them all. And then I recheck it with the pendulum to make sure they're all open.
Good for you. Good for you.
Then I call in your guides of 100% pure divine light, my guides of 100% pure divine light. We ask for your highest and greatest good. And then I ask to be shown, and they'll tell me where to go first. It might be the DNA on your mother's side of the family, 50 generations back. And we pull them all in, and we bind and gag any energies that are no longer serving you if they're dark, meaning there's light and dark. But I respect electricity. I respect the dark, but I also don't want to touch it or anything. So the beings of light work with energetics that get stuck in the past or that are causing havoc that aren't even yours. They may be from your mother's side of the family 50 generations back. And we use the light.
I'm sorry, heritage obviously has so much to do with what's in there, what's cooking.
Yeah, I mean, it's in your DNA. It's how you express. And it just might be a pattern that you have that you don't even know why you do it, but you inherited it, so to speak. And so we use
the Uncle Charlie.
Exactly.
It's his fault.
Yeah. Well, we don't get into the stories or any of that. We just use the light tools to clean it up, like the purple light to transform it and increase the frequency of it. And then once everything has been cleaned and cleared, then we transport those energies to the place they've earned the right to be, never to return to you or this reality. And then I might pull in a little access consciousness clearing statement, and it goes like this: right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine, shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. And it's like, boing, it goes right over your head, right? And it's supposed to. It's designed to do that. Just like reflexology is for your body, access consciousness bars are spaces on your head that you hold that clear energy for your life. So it's just like whatever the person needs, it comes through. So we clean it up, and then we heal and seal with liquid golden light, because you know the universe likes a vacuum. So you clean all of that up and you heal and seal it. And then wounds are like energetic counterclockwise spirals that go down into the body. And so that's why we heal and seal with liquid golden light, and we activate upward spirals. So that wound has been cleared and cleaned and returned to its.
I'm so glad you said golden light, because that also is a prompt from my old man memory. I definitely want you to expand a little bit, and let's see how we're doing on the old proverbial clock to keep things. We got you for another 10 minutes or so?
Okay, sure.
Okay, so if you can segue right into golden light, and I'll bring this all into scope and focus in my tomorrow show, as well as what we accomplish here today. Continue, please. Continue.
Okay, sure.
That's awesome.
So I am the conductor of the session, and I just share what I hear and I see. And so the way that we do spiritual hygiene or clean up any of the bodies, any of the systems, etc., is using light. So there's also holographic rooms like the anger room or the healing room or the fight or flight room.
Correct.
So the first part of the session, when we're cleaning up any wounds, etc., we use the violet consuming flame to clean, clear, cleanse, heal, harmonize, and balance on all levels, layers, timelines, and dimensions. So we eject any negative objects, we reverse any and all negative thought forms. Sometimes we scramble, neutralize, and dissolve all negative holographic beliefs and statements, those kinds of things. It's all broad brushstroke. So once everything's been cleaned up, if there's a wound that's a downward spiral that's counterclockwise, we don't want to leave it that way, even if it's clean, if the wound is at the bottom of it,
correct,
energetically. So what we do is we heal and seal it with liquid golden light. And then we activate upward spirals, and we reverse any implosions and contractions, and we reverse any and all shearing. So what does that mean? So the activation of the spiral going up is to return it to its divine blueprint, how it's supposed to be before the wound occurred. And then reversing any contractions and implosions. If you think about it, sometimes energy comes towards you, and it, like, if your chakra is supposed to be like this funnel that's open, it gets imploded, it gets pushed into the body. So we reverse any of that. And then when you're in fear, you contract, you don't expand. So we reverse. Yes. Yeah. So we reverse any of that. Again, it's all broad brushstroke with the light. And then after we heal and seal it, then we anchor and hold it with divine protection of golden white light. And we anchor it in with love, healing, wisdom, truth, all of those things, whatever the words are. But the phrases come through specific for the individual. So yeah, that's what we do. That's kind of like rinse and repeat, if you will. The violet light cleans it up. The golden light heals and seals it so it can't come back or anything else can take its place. And then golden white light kind of anchors and holds it and protects it. And then we return it back, and it integrates, like you say, some of the phrases are like restore, reset, regenerate, recalibrate, and integrate, and everything all goes back. See, all this work is to return someone to wholeness, because we get fractured, we get scattered, we get split. And there's many intersections of all of those wounds and disconnects that can occur, or rotations that get polarized the opposite direction. There's so many things that we don't even realize. It's spiritual hygiene. It's like we brush our teeth, we wash our face, all of those things, but we don't think about the invisible bodies. Right. So what I recommend everybody to do every day is to connect with yourself, with your inner world. So I meditate every day, or I contemplate every day, and I connect with myself, and I call in my guides of 100% pure divine light. I don't need to know that it's Bob, Harry, and Alice. It's
Whatever.
just like,
and if Bob, Harry, and Alice works, great. I mean, if you want to call them Frank, Tom, that's all personal, and it's great. But like you say, it doesn't have to be Bob, Frank, Tom, Joey, Ahmed, or what. It doesn't have to be. There's no, like you so eloquently said, there's no textbook, even though we've maybe written a few or emailed. They're all great guides. They're all, ebook or whatever. They're all great in and of themselves. No one's all encompassing, ourselves included. It's a learning process for the teacher as well, even though we're versed. I go by the adage of my people every day. I'm 69 years old, semantics in a couple of weeks. I learn something every day, and I challenge myself to learn something every day, because we do. I mean, just through osmosis, if we allow it to happen. And one more, to go to your earlier point, we just lost Burt Bacharach, the old famous song, if you will. What the world needs now is love. It's corny, but it's not. It's so true.
No, it's true.
Just so you'll know that we've used before, we're in the same neighborhood. I use like internal cyclone, if you will, and concaved internal cyclone. And then to put it down to a real basic term, the engine, if you equate it to a car, was getting clogged up in regards to the chakras. And even, I'm not a Reiki master, but I know about Reiki, and I've taken it. A master, a novice, or whatever, we all need to revisit it, practice it constantly. I'm going to go take another refresher course of Reiki 1 for like my 4th time in the next subsequent months. Because you not so much forget it, but it's like if you don't constantly practice it, it's always good to revisit it, in my humble opinion. And of course, daily meditation, we promote that highly. One real quick one, and I'll let you out. The lion's share of my demographics, for obvious reasons, is my fellow senior citizens. But I always say there's pearls of wisdom and kernels of knowledge to be gleaned from all kids 1 to 92. Staying on my themes of all lyrics of songs, Nat King Cole. But it's so true. And I do pretty well with the cross demographics. People like yourself certainly help enhance that. So thank you.
Oh, good.
And I'm not sure about my 15-year-old granddaughter and her. I'm not sure they sit with bated breath like, hey, Grandpa's going to have another show. Can't miss that. Tease a little bit. She does listen in, my granddaughter, because in one of my business factions, I'm having her explore like gold and silver for the future and all that kind of stuff. So she gets involved in that. So she does chime in once in a while. But nice. I'm not sure like that's going to be a weekend event for her and her friends. Hey, we got to listen to Grandpa Bill's marathons this week. So I tease a little bit. But with great help, like great guests like yourselves, that helps your audience, in all due respect, hopefully mine, and hopefully broaden all of our horizons to get the message out there to more and more people that are seeking the help, for sure. As you well know, we preach to no one, but preaching to the proverbial choir. There's people that are seeking you out. There's people that need the help, and we're trying to be omnipresent as we can, and of course increase our exposure as well. In that vein, please repeat all your social medias, how people get in touch with you and so forth, so I don't leave anything out. And if you have any prolific words to leave us with, please interject that as well. Refresh us. How do we get a hold of Tracey in every possible way?
Well, thank you. I guess the simplest way is to find me on my website.
Correct.
And I do anything, handles or whatever you want to call it, on social media with my name, Tracey Whittet. And if anyone's just listening with audio only, it's TracyWhittet.com. So it's like Whittet, Whittet did it.
Thanks for that clarification too. My audience probably get it within the first 10 seconds. Thanks for the old man. I do have it. Thank you.
Okay, great. And so like Facebook is Tracey Whittet, or you could find Transmosis Healing there. If you guys think about it, transmosis is kind of a made up word is what I've said. And it's like someone else said, no, it's a divinely appointed word. I'm like, okay, I'll buy that. All right, thanks. That feels like a higher vibe to it. Yeah. But I'm really grounded. I'm really earthy. But I can also go way out there, with awareness and consciousness. And I don't want to give anyone the impression that spiritual healing is woo-woo or weird or any of that, because
I'm sorry.
It's very sacred.
Yep.
We are divine humans. I mean, we're in a physical body, but we're divine. We have soul. We are soul.
These are sacred temples.
Yeah.
Sacred temples as part of being the humanoid. Those of us that are humanoids on this planet, another subject.
Yep.
But those of us that are of the humanoid persuasion, this is a gift.
It is.
It's a gift. And it's like a gift that we have to appreciate. And a lot of times I think we underappreciate it through naivety and a combination of reasons, but outright old mindsets too. We don't want to get started on that, but we've been conditioned with old mindsets and all of that. So that's all part of the equation as well.
That's true. It's like, that's why I worked in corporate America. I had this belief in this not even unconditional, this conditioned response to, that was the only way I could make money. That was the way
that is also one of the reasons that I found it so, I think, a great match. I left corporate America in 1995 and went sole proprietorship. And let's just protect the innocent. It was a crock of, you know what, then. It's only gotten progressively worse in this old man's opinion. That's right. That's all. So, I'm sorry, was there any last provocative thought that you want to leave us with? And Tracey has an open invite anytime to come back. Anytime.
Oh, thank you.
Based on your very busy, hectic schedule, of course.
Oh yeah, no worries. It's sacred work. It's not like I work with the masses, truth. I work with anyone that is attracted to the higher frequencies and the higher energy and clearings.
We need more open caregivers like that too out there and about. So it's encouraging that that's happening. It especially to someone like myself with the impetus about my legacy and my granddaughter and whatever. I leave in comfort knowing that there's individuals like you that are going to carry on. And I don't blow smoke. I mean that sincerely.
You act like I'm really far behind you in age. I'll be 66 this April. So,
well, in that sense of humor, and I mean that with all due respect. Well, welcome to senior citizenry, then, you old auntie.
Exactly.
I'm teasing. Well, you hold your age very well. How about
that? Thank you. I like how you talk about this being empowerment, because that's really what it's about. I like the grassroots effort where you work with individuals.
Yep. And
help them remember who and what they truly are.
Correct.
And connecting to their intuition is really a gift. It's like the way it is, to trust that inner knowing.
It is.
And so you said I could leave something behind here or just share some other provocative words. My girlfriends and I, two other ladies, and I got together and we thought, what can we do together as a project?
I saw that on one of your bios. That's very good. Continue.
Yeah. What can we do as a project to give to humanity? What could we do? So we decided to author a book. So I'm a co-author of this book that you can get on Amazon, but you can also get it for free on my website if you're interested, if you want, if you can't, afford the $17.
Can I just interject real quickly? Again, I'm behind, but I just went into Kindle last night just to get, and I'm going to read it. I have not read it yet, but I'm going to. But
it's a fun workbook. It's not like you could read it like the first.
Right, but you know what I just in all candor haven't gotten to it yet. My bad, but I'm going to.
Well, let me do this then. So it's a book called The Magi Within.
Yep.
Unlocking the Gifts of the Inner Self. And it's a workbook that is A through Z. So you could use the book like you could open it up randomly and see what you get, or you could think of a letter. So, Grandpa Bill, what letter comes to your mind right now?
Okay, because I think I mentioned it in the green room, I'm doing a very asimilar structured memory course. So I've done these alphabet things. Just to answer your question, I do different categories within. One of my most recent exercises in that program, thanks for your patience, was I arbitrarily, because I love music, asthma music, all types of music, and I love many categories. I just isolated it for that example, A to Z, real quickly, and to answer your question on A in a second. Under that category, I simply just wanted to go with anything related to music, a song, a genre. the masters or whatever, A to Z. So to answer your question, and rock music happens to be one of my favorite genres. So under that premise, the letter A, I just came up with Allman Brothers on the first one. Then I went back a second series of time and tried to go back down through A to Z quickly and try to think of other letters like that. So to answer your question, right now, A, just real quickly,
A is what you get?
Anonymity, and the reason that comes in to my mind right now is I think a lot of people out there might be trying to not so much protect their anonymity, but to maybe enter something like this as a novice or not versed in it or whatever. Some reason I'm just seeing the word anonymity right now with A, whether that's pertinent to my audience or whatever. To answer your question, I really feel the letter A in the word anonymity. What that means right at the moment, I can't expand upon it. But to answer your question, that would be my first A, and I know that book's going to help me.
So this book, The Magi Within, Unlocking the Gifts of the Inner Self, is A to Z. So in our book, A stands for awareness.
Correct. Good one. Good one.
So you just open it up and you read the quote that someone wrote about awareness, and then you read the 4 questions that expand energy, and you read the chapter. It's very short, like a page and a half. And then you, that day, would be all the rest of the day or night, you're in the space of awareness, and it's to train you or to get you in contact with your inner magi, your inner self, in the realm of awareness. But you could pick K for kindness, or M for magic, or Z for 0 point.
H for happy, or whatever.
Sure. Yeah, we have H for heart in our book.
Even better, because it's the heart-brain connection, which we talk a lot about on my shows, too. Even better.
And then we did artwork with it. So the painting that goes with heart or awareness.
Even better. You're playing to the senses. You're playing to all 5 senses, which is so key.
It's activating.
As you well know.
Yeah, and then you can journal about it. So it's fun.
I'm not rushing you. I know you have a long day. We talked a little bit, and I know you got some other things to do. You have an open invite to your comfort zone. I think today went fairly well. Yeah. We'll hope for the best in the audience and everything. And I hope that you got everything in that you wanted to before we depart. One last chance in case I'm missing something. Or did you want to say?
No, I'm very, very grateful. And if anyone ever wants to reach out and have a session or look at the website, TraceyWhittet.com, just to read about it, great. You know, I'm just here to serve whoever is aligned and resonates with the word transmosis or the work. No pressure. It's all good.
One quick closing note, and I'll enlighten you, so to speak.
Great. I want that.
There's a little play on words in this.
Yeah.
In this connotation. I have an advocacy program. It's too long and detailed here. It's all voluntary. Basically, what it is a synopsis of something I did years ago and continue to do when I was in business. I am retired. I do a couple passive and residual income things over at my business shows. But what it is it's an overall a la carte program, if you will, direct to the suppliers. Point is, I want people to go to Tracy however you get there. And I'm a happy camper. I am. I'll elaborate more. There's a little bit of a win-win-win situation, if perceived as such, via this advocacy program that I've started again from an old. It's based on interest. It's going to take some input. It's going to take a series of time. But if people were to go to Tracy and just simply said, you know, hey, I heard about you on Grandpa Bill's show, or geez, I really found out about you. You were great on Grandpa Bill's show. He's kind of a whatever. I tease a little bit in there.
They wouldn't do that.
But it's just to get some banter, hopefully, directly, if it fortuitous to that way. Point is, there's some deeper discounting as we get along on some of the things I do. And it's kind of a win-win-win situation when all the pieces, to our earlier point, fit in together. And sometimes they don't just fit in. It takes a little legwork. It's just a way with the world as it spins on its axis moving forward with all the variables we're facing now. Inflation, the dying fiat dollar, the world arena. But as much as the world's inverted, it's a great precipice of time, especially with the future generation, to get it right side up and do this thing the right way.
Great.
So, through all of that, there's an advocacy program. I'll fill you in behind the scenes. But I want to impart on everybody. I did this in business for years, too. And a lot of my so-called competitors, because they weren't competitors, we're all in this to help people heal. We're all in this, and I did it for years. Many people would say, you recommended products over and above your own for so many years. And the reason I did that is because, first of all, I tried them to know from where I speak and or the services, if it was a service. And I just believe in that. If you're truly a healer, I'm not a practitioner. I didn't take a Hippocratic oath, but I highly believe in it. And the end result is if your product, your service, or whatever is going to get someone to a better place, I want to get them to you.
Yeah, so Transmosis is designed to empower you to continue your evolving journey. It's just a support.
And it just allows us to be the maximum human beings that we're all capable of being. That's all we're all trying to do. For ourselves individually and collectively. Hey, I practice stuff every single day. Still scratching my head like, hey, how am I doing? Pretty good. I'm 69 years and counting. Perfect health. I'll talk to you about all of that, other than the breakdown outside. Thanks, Tracy. You know we'd be here forever, especially if I don't shut my big mouth.
Thank you. That's great.
So
I appreciate it.
Thank you. So I'll see you on the backside. By the way, one quick caveat. I produce these shows overnight. You'll have a copy first of my YouTube. That's usually the order of succession. Okay. Then it will be available video-wise also on Spotify. And then I am blessed that I'm on all platforms audio-wise that you would hear any podcast. With your great help and provocative guests, we'll continue to rise a little bit higher in the search engines. but we're blessed. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, too. Thank you so much.
Have a pleasant evening. We'll talk soon.
Great.
Bye-bye. Thanks. Peace.
Peace out.